Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to the Persistence Payoff Show. We're here on USA Global TV and Radio. I'm your host, Kimberly SCHAFER. This show is focused on the quality of persistence and learning from people who have embodied that quality, how they've been persistent, why, and the lessons that they've learned. It has been such an inspiring journey. I'm a first-time entrepreneur and inventor. I invented the ring thing, which is a waterproof patented ring holder. I'm in my second chapter of life and learning about persistence on my own journey. So this topic is very, very interesting to me. People can be persistent in many ways. They can persist through emotional issues, through physical challenges, financial challenges, or all of the above. And it's really inspiring to hear how people push through those challenges. That brings me to our guest today. I am thrilled and honored to have Coach Amy, also known as Dead Amy, as our guest today. Coach Amy is proof that you can turn pain into purpose and into power. When she was in college, she was a bartender and she was sexually assaulted by a prospective gang member. That led her to take up boxing for self-defense, and she fell in love with the sport and took it up. She trained in 6 countries, she fought in 5, and she coached in 3. And in Korea, she turned pro and was a pro boxer and actually established the largest boxing club in Korea. But her mission has always been larger than the ring, and Coach Amy's mission is empowering other people. So she returned to the Philippines and established the Empowered Clubhouse, which is the first and only all-women's boxing club in the Philippines. She also established the Lil Sistas Project, which empowers underprivileged girls through boxing. Now she's a competitive women's figure bodybuilder, and she's inspiring other athletes through PrepLife, which is her online bodybuilding community, where she helps people navigate that process and that sport. She helps them gain confidence on the stage with her apparel line, Slay Goddess, which is custom show day apparel. Coach Amy's journey is not just about fighting, but it's showing that you can rise, evolve, and that persistence is the key to reaching your own power and your own purpose. So please help me welcome Coach Amy.
Hey, Kimberly.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I have to acknowledge that I'm in San Diego and you're in the Philippines, so it's the middle of the night for you. And so I just want to say thank you so much for being here at all, much less making this effort to be with us today. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very honored and blessed to have you ask me to be on it.
Well, thank you. You know, your journey is so inspiring with all of the things that you've done. And I'd like to start by asking you just to go back to the beginning, you know, when you experienced that assault and that led you to take up boxing. Can you talk with us about what that experience was like and the impact that it had on you?
Yeah, you know, I'm a firm believer that there's always lessons to be learned, and there's always everything that happens to you is a building block to where you are now. And I remember at the time I was a university student and I was on a scholarship, but paying for my university and like my board and housing and everything. And just on a Sunday afternoon, I knew that it wasn't the most positive place for me to be working, but I was a starving student trying to make my way, so to speak. And I got into a confrontation with one of the bouncers at the club who was a prospect for particular gang, which I will not name, but it's the biggest gang in the world.
Mm.
And he pushed me and I pushed him, and it just like escalated beyond what I thought would ever happen. And I ended up getting dragged by my hair to the back of the VIP where there's no cameras. And just, I really believed that I was, like, I didn't think that I was going to get, like, anything so dangerous, but I really believed that on that Sunday afternoon, I was going to get raped in front of all these people. And just that fear that it sparked in me, and I turned around and I ended up fighting for, like, ultimately fighting for my life. You know, no one came in to help me. And even when police showed up, you know, my boss was like, you know what, Amy, if you think being possibly raped on a Sunday afternoon was the worst thing that can happen, tell them who did this, and you're going to wish you only were raped, which I wasn't raped, but you know what I mean? It's just the fear of being like a 20-year-old girl. And so I couldn't tell people what had happened. No one really knew where I worked. My parents didn't know where I worked. I didn't live at home with my parents. And it was such a pivotal moment because one of my friends had actually gone to the Olympics, Mark Simmons. And I was living downtown where he was, and he's, you know, I couldn't reveal what had happened. And one thing came to another, and I ended up meeting Egerton, which was a silver medalist, Olympian. And he invited me to come to his Boston club, and I had such attitude. You know, I had already been attacked. I had now a broken wrist. And that's how I took up boxing, was because I was just like, this is never going to happen to me again. I shouldn't have been in that situation. Lesson learned. Moving forward, how is it going to protect myself? And so that's how I started boxing, as a means of self-defense. And I just like fell in love with the sport, with the challenge of it. My boxing club still to this day, after like 23 years, I think that really aged me there, but after 23 years, still messages me, still shares my posts on Facebook, and he's like so proud of me, and it just like has become such a mentor to me, and that really changed my life. You took a total different turn, you know. So it was a terrible event, but there's always good to be found in the bad, you know. And I feel like I really found the greatness in that bad situation.
Yeah. Well, and that right there is such a lesson in persistence, that you didn't give into it, because you could have, right? You could have just gone on that downhill slide, but you found a way to rise and thrive from that. So was your intention at that point, when you started training with the Olympic silver medalist, to become a pro boxer, or were you just kind of, hey, I'm just going to do this and see what happens?
I liked it because I still worked at that club for the next like 2.5 years later, almost 3 years later. And it wasn't until I moved to Korea, and then I moved to Korea after university, and I took up boxing again. Like, I found a boxing club near my house, and then, you know, I was in a small community where there's not a lot of foreigners, and I really loved it. And you know, like, as a foreigner living in a foreign country, you try to gravitate towards like your own little crew, whether it's like other foreigners, or whether it's like, for me, it was the gym. I was always into the gym. I've been a competitive athlete since I was 14. So I naturally gravitated towards the gym. I got there, I met the coach, met the other like pro boxers, and just, you know, became part of that family there. And so they were like, oh, we want you to turn pro because you're here all the time, and let's really like see where you can take this potential. And I really just wanted to make my coach happy, you know, because he had kind of taken me in as like a fatherly figure to me. Still to this day is one of my coaches that I still message, you know, and Coach Yoonjip there in Korea. And so, yeah, I never really wanted to turn pro. I just really wanted to see where I could take it, you know, and I love a good challenge. And for me, I've always been intentional with what I do. You know, why am I like training so hard, you know? And so, okay, I'm training so hard because there's a fight, there's a bout, you know? So yeah, my intentions were just to take boxing to a level where I can defend myself and make my new family proud. And yeah, it just kept on going up, you know, like Adidas sponsored me. I opened up my own box club. It just went like, like it just kept on going.
Yes. Well, and and what vision? I mean, here, you established the largest boxing club in Korea. And so how did that come to be, and how did that come to your mind that you wanted to do that?
Well, originally, like I was boxing at the club, and at the time it was a single female, and in Korea, a lot of foreigners get together at the bar. They shoot pool, they drink, or they smoke. I was still an athlete. I don't drink. I don't like smoke, and I don't go to the bars. I'm up early for training, and so I was like, you know what? I can't be the only one that is not into this. Not that they all are, but it's just like such a common thing. How do foreigners meet other foreigners? I didn't speak really Korean at the time. And actually, my mother was passing away. She was fighting cancer. And so I returned home to Canada to see my mom. And she asked me, you say you love Korea, but are you happy there? And I said, I just feel I don't fit in. I'm not comfortable being me there. I don't know if I need to change or what do I need to do. And my mom was like, you know what, Amy, you've never been one to follow the crowd. So why would you be in another country and follow the crowd? Why don't you just do what you're naturally are talented to do? And that's just be a leader. And so I thought, you know what, I know I can't be the only foreigner that is into sports or the only female. So I started my own company called Flipside Fitness. And so I started that, and I was like, it attracted a lot of other females, and I started doing I did a mountaintop barbecue. We did I was training them at the gym on the weekend with boxing at the club that I was training at. They don't open on the weekend, so that's perfect. I do my weekend boxercise classes, and the success of it just bloomed again. It just went to the next level, and it was the only logical next step was to make my own location, because at that time I was a university professor working full time during the week, and then working full time doing this kind of side hustle, which I was making good money, but that wasn't the point. The point was to make my kind of my spot in Korea, and so then it was okay, I have I'm coaching over 50 women on a weekend. What was supposed to be one class is now 3 classes on Saturday, 3 classes on Sunday. And by Sunday night, I'm exhausted. And then I have to go to work on Monday. So, I decided to kind of, as soon as my contract for the university professor was up, instead of renewing it, I started my own company and looking for a location. And it's funny because even the university was like, okay, you haven't signed the contract. I'm like, no, I'm not renewing it. And they're like, what are you talking about? You make good money. I'm like, yeah, but that's not the point. The point is I'm now doing something that I really love,
Yes.
So,
Well, and I really feel touched that your mom would encourage you in that way, because so often it's easy for parents to kind of say, well, you should do this and you should do that, and you should, and they were just worried about other aspects of your life. And so for her to really encourage you to do what called to you, I think is so powerful and beautiful.
And it's interesting because what had happened, my mom had actually passed away. And so when I was leaving Canada for Korea to return, because I was only there I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks, and then I stayed about 2 months to help my father with passing my mother. And I told my dad, I said, mark my words, when I come back, my new company is paying for the plane ticket. And he's like, you don't have a company? I'm like, well, that's what I'm going there for. So 5 years later, I came back after having launched Flipside Fitness and then Hulk's Boxing. And I came back with my company had paid for my ticket, my paycheck from work. So
wow, that's amazing. Well, first of all, I'm sorry about your mom. I'm sorry about her loss. And it's interesting. I work out at a boxing gym here in San Diego, where I'm usually the oldest person in the building, so nobody's concerned about me getting in the ring. But I will say that I understand that it does give you that confidence. And so as I'm listening to your story, I'm so struck by you having that confidence of you have a vision and you're just going to make it happen. I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
And so how did you get from Korea to the Philippines?
Well, I had reached a certain level of success in Korea. I was on a few reality shows. I had gotten married, and I feel like I kind of reached what I thought was my ceiling, you know, my potential. I now spoke Korean. I run this business, but my relationship had gone like good, bad to ugly, and I just felt so suffocated with whether it was sponsors that were always like monitoring me or just fighting for just like I don't want to say like equality, but just like being a foreign female and being a foreign female married to a Korean in a small city was very challenging.
Mm.
And I was just like, you know what, this is not how my story is going to end. Like this is not my peak, but I think this is my peak here. And I was just like, you know, I've always been a strong woman. I come from a very strong, like my mother's very, very strong. And this is not my story, you know, just like how when I was in the bar and I got attacked, I'm like, this is not going to be my story. This is like the plot twist. So the plot twist was on a Tuesday night, I got up and I left Korea. I left my dog. Actually, one of my dogs is here now with me. He's my little chihuahua from Korea here. And I went back to Canada. I was there for about 2 years and I met someone and he was like, you know, I'm going to go to the Philippines for 3 months to launch my business. Do you want to wait for me? And I was like, listen, I left like the love of my life in Korea. I left my business. I left my dogs. I've only known you for like a little bit. There's no way I'm going to just uproot everything and or even just wait for you. But if you ask me to go with you, I think I can afford 3 months. So he's like, okay, do you want to go with me? And I was like, I love the Philippines. I was there before. So, okay, let's go. And that was like 8 years ago. And we just never left. So
Wow.
never stayed here.
That's amazing. Oh, I love that. How you're just like going with the flow of like, you know,
Well,
you're open to what's coming.
You know, everyone's like, oh, aren't you afraid something's going to happen to you? I'm like, first of all, I'm a pro boxer.
Yes.
So if anyone's going to get hurt, it's going to be him. You know? So I'm like, I'm good. I can carry my own. And I'm like, if I'm in the Philippines, I've been here before. Not that I know it so well, but it's like, what is the worst that's going to happen? If all else fails, I'll call my dad up and be like, hey, Dad, I have no money. Can you help me with a plane ticket? I'll pay you back. It's like, I feel like after having gone through what I went with Korea and whatnot, if I'm not going to die from it, I will do it. It's like jump and learn how to fly on the way down. That's kind of like my whole mentality with everything. It's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? If you're not going to die, then why not do it? If it makes you happy, like life is too short to waste it waiting for the right time. There's no perfect time. You know what I mean? Just do it. You know,
Yeah.
I'd rather have regrets of doing it and it failed than regrets that I didn't do something. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. What's the, I'm going to say it kind of wrong, but there's a saying about, you know, what you regret are the things you didn't do, not the things you did do.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, it's those things you didn't do. So, wow. And so you had to learn a new language, or do you speak
Well, I'm
Tagalog?
learning now. Actually, no one really speaks Tagalog to me here.
Okay.
Only at the outreach where I at the orphanage and at the village where I coach the underprivileged girls. For the most part, people speak English because they do go to school and they speak English at school. It wasn't like Korea. In Korea, I minored in Korean culture in university. So my professor was like, okay, you're gonna go to Korea, you're gonna learn the language, submerge yourself more in the culture, and when you come back, your volunteer job as a Korean assistant, like a student assistant, is going to be a paid job. And so it's like the pressure was for me to learn Korean. Here it's like, if I learn Tagalog, I learn it. If not, there's no real demand, you know?
Yeah.
So, but now I'm learning.
Yeah, that's a great situation because then you can still navigate. You can navigate the day and navigate life. And so you then went on to establish the Empowered Clubhouse in the Philippines. And so when you first got there, what were you thinking you were going to do? And then how did you end up establishing the gym?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I was supposed to only be here with my boyfriend for 3 months. I know what it's like to be in a relationship where you're not supported. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to be that girlfriend that doesn't support him. So after 3 months, they told my boyfriend, we want you to stay longer because we've launched your business, but you're the face of the brand. So how is the brand going to stay continual if you're not here? So he's like, oh, Amy, I just want, like, surprise, I'm going to stay here after 3 months. And do you want to stay here with me? And I'm like, give me a week to think about it. Because I was already planning to launch my business in Canada. Because that was the whole idea after I left Korea, like reestablish myself in Canada. But now I'm in the Philippines. And then, it basically came down to one day I was at the gym and I saw these girls looking at a YouTube and they're trying to like follow this workout. And I was like, you know what? There's like no real female coaches here. And I'm like the strongest female. And at the time I was only a pro boxer. So it's not that I wasn't so strong, but I'm not at the strength I am now. And I was just like, you know what? These women, there's these guys that are coaching, the guys that are athletes, but there's no one that's so extreme and setting an example for these girls. And it's like, but there's so many girls at the gym. It's not like in Korea where it's kind of taboo. Women don't want to get strong, And so it's like, they need someone. Like the women here need someone. And I was like, I think I'm going to be that person. I think I'm going to stay here because, like, why not? Like, I remember coming here earlier, maybe like 15 years ago. My ex was super light champion. We had a fight here. And so I came as a Korean English translator for him. And I remember telling him, man, if I wasn't living in Korea, I'd want to live in the Philippines. And, I put that in the universe and voila, now I live in the Philippines.
Here you are. Yes. Oh my gosh. And so how was it received to set up a boxing gym for women? Like, did people there take to that right away, or was it sort of like, what the heck is this? Or
well, there was two issues. One issue is like people like, okay, are you, they see the short hair, they see the ink, and they're like, maybe it's a foreign lesbian. Are you anti-guy? And I'm like, no, like, I love men. The bigger, the better. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not anti-men. It's just not about men. Like, yes. It's just not about men. It's about women supporting women. And as a female athlete, I've only had one other female who's been like kind of a secondary coach to me, who just gets it, what the issues we go through as females, And then, so that was the first issue. People thought that was like anti-men. And then another issue was like, there is a lot of like transgender and cross-dressers here. And so people were like, well, what do you label as a female? And I was like, you know what? I'm not here to judge you on your personal choices. I'm only here to ask you to own your choices. So if you identify as a female 24/7, not just on the weekend or when it's convenient or when whatever, then yes, if you identify yourself as a female 24/7, of course I will coach you. It's all about women supporting women, whether you are like naturally born, whether you feel that you were born differently and now have evolved. That's your choice, that's your life, and I respect that. So yeah, I've never really had issues beyond that. I've been like, I'm pretty open-minded and I'm pretty supportive. Just own who and what you are. That's all I have ever asked.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable. Totally reasonable. And there have been times when I've gone to women-only gyms, and one of the nice things is just sort of takes away this element of competition, right? Like you still go and you might try to wear, of course, clean clothes, but it just takes away that element of trying to be the cutest in the gym, or it's just like it's all about working out and getting strong.
And like right now I really am focusing on personal training. So I used to do small teams and I used to do groups. Like I've coached a group of like 50 university students, but now I do personal training. And for me, it's just like it's getting down to, why are you here at the gym? Like you want to train, you want to become stronger. Okay, who cares about what you look like? Who cares about, the current fashion trends? Or it just takes everything, all the extra distractions are away. Do you know what I mean? Yes. There's no, like you said, there's no competition. There's no, body insecurities, or, you know, like, it's just getting down to, what are we doing? What are we here for? We're here to get stronger. We're here to get body confidence. We're here for self-love, empowerment, you know. And it's funny because, like, my clients always there's always like the same kind of trend. The client comes, maybe they're wearing baggy clothes or they're wearing their best clothes. By the end of it, like a few months into it, they're like so comfortable with me. Like, even 2 days ago, I had a client and she's talking to me and just takes her shirt off and she changes in front of me. I'm like, am I supposed to like look away? I'm like, oh, okay. And, you know, and it's funny because I had one of my neighbors here. She approached me and she's like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, you never have people, I never have people over. And if you ever have someone come to your house, it's always a female and they always leave sweaty and or half naked. She's like, yeah. And I see you in the morning with a hoodie and sunglasses on and a hat, and go walking and you come back sweaty. I see you in the afternoon, you go somewhere and you come back, you're sweaty. And then you go walking. She's like, you're always with a dog, you're always sweaty. And then there's only women that come to your house and they always leave sweaty and like half naked. Like, yeah, I have a gym.
Oh, I love that. That's hilarious. Because she asked and got clarification.
And she's like, yeah, what's going on in that house? You know, because my clubhouse is part of my house here. It's a private entrance. So it's a separate entrance. You know, it doesn't interfere with the rest of the house or whatnot. But
that's funny.
pretty cool.
So are you thinking of expanding the gym within the Philippines and having chains? Are you thinking of different locations?
Well, originally Empowered Clubhouse was supposed to be similar to what I set up in Korea, which was a big open gym and like regular hours, like 7 a.m. to like, my gym in Korea opened at like 12 o'clock to like midnight. So we were open for 12 hours. And then, but when I was here, when I first started, I wanted to launch it like that, but to get investors was so hard. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do this whole investors. I'll just put my own cash in it. So I started with just training people at the park. And then I got a location in Taguig, which is like half an hour from here. And now I have an Alabang Hill. So it's like upgraded. And now, even though I didn't like personal training before, I really feel like that is kind of like my niche, the beginners and I don't want to say middle-aged women, but yeah, not the young girls. Like my youngest client right now is 46 and my oldest client is 61. So I'm not dealing with the young crowd. It's all personal training. And I really feel like, you know, women want a safe space. It with personal training, it's instantly just them and me. I'm very transparent. I share a lot of stories with the ladies, same with them, with me. And I've created this safe space that is so unique and so genuine and so real. And I'm like, do I want to make it an open safe space, or do I think that I'm just going to keep it as personal training. If anything, it has like small team, like you can train with your friends. I don't know. Like I do have another venture that I want to do with opening up a gym, but it's more so for like personal trainers to come in and have a means of training their clients. So I wouldn't be trained there. But for now, I think Empowered Clubhouse, I really like it how I have it, where I have a limited clientele and it's personal training, because it's nothing that I thought it'd ever be, but it's so much better. And I really love what I'm doing with the clients there. You know, even I have clients that are online and everyday message. I talk to every one of my clients, and I only keep it at 7 clients, but I talk to almost every single client at least once a day. Like, hey, what are you doing for your food? Or just remind me of training tomorrow, or you didn't put in your stats into the app, or you know what I mean? And there's that constant communication. There's that solid relationship that I don't think I will have if I had so many clients. Because like in Korea, my boxing club had over 300 members. And so you look at their picture every day. Who's that? Oh, that's Minho. That's you know, whatever, Minsu. And here it's like, of course, I know those clients and I know their family, I know their kids. I know their dogs, you know what I mean? So it's just so personal, and I really love it. I really love it.
Wow. It sounds like a great environment, like a fantastic environment. But how did you transition, or not transition, but add in competitive bodybuilding on top of all that you're doing at the gym? Like that's so interesting.
Well, leave it to me to take on something else, right? But yeah, during the pandemic, I was actually trying to be on the national team for rugby. And so I was on the city team, and we were champions, Manila champions. I actually was in Thailand right before the pandemic, representing the Philippines with my team. And so I was doing professional boxing, and I was also doing rugby. And then with the pandemic went on for so long, and it's like, how do I keep my athletes engaged? How do I keep my sponsors invested in me? And like, everyone online, every trainer online or every influencer online who's skinny thinks they can train people for free. So what is something that's gonna be different? And not only for my clients, but for me too. How am I gonna keep focused on what I'm doing? And so I was thinking about what other sport could I do that I can train by myself? So I was like, okay, my initial sport is long distance running, but I don't have time to train, do triathlons and train for like 8 hours on a bike ride, not to mention the expense of the bike. So I was like, well, I already do a little bit of weight training, but it's more so functional weight training for boxing. So let me see how it goes. And so I had signed up for my first show, and then I signed up for my first show before I even had a coach. And then I got a coach. And it's funny because actually you just showed the video there. That was a 45-second solo presentation that I had to do, that I had so much anxiety about having to do. Because usually you go on stage and the girls, you just walk on stage, and then they had the comparisons where, front, back, side, whatnot. But at that particular show with that organization, WFF, they asked for a solo routine. And so I trained for months with a coach with that. And I really was like having so much anxiety. But when I went on stage and took the robe off and I heard everyone like, wah! I was like, I am so in love with this. I was like, why didn't I do this earlier? So now I love it. And then I'm training right now for I think it's my 9th show. So
yeah. That's amazing. And I love following your journey on Instagram as you're talking about your diet and your cutting and getting ready for the show is just so inspiring.
It's such, it's interesting because boxing is a sport, and I feel like you can cheat the diet, you can cheat the sleep, you have to just make sure you weigh a certain weight on the scale for the fight day, or the day before the fight. But with bodybuilding, it's like, if you cheat the diet, it shows. If you don't get sleep, you have stress, it shows. It's like, it's such a lifestyle, and I love the extremeness of it, how it's like all encompassing. It's stress management, it's monitoring your sleep, it's definitely diet, training hard and being mentally strong. So it's a challenge so much bigger than I thought it'd be, and I love that. I that's what I get. I just am fulfilled with, that challenge.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I'd love to hear about the PrepLife community, because you started that to help other bodybuilders sort of navigate the sport. And how do you find people?
Well, with PrepLife is the online website, and that kind of evolved from like to try to go to different bodybuilding shows here in the Philippines. Some of them advertise on Facebook, some are on like Instagram, whatnot. And so it's like, how do you know when the next show is? And there's not one platform. So I was like, I was talking to my boyfriend, and I was like, well, why don't we make a platform? And he's like, okay, we'll design this. And I was like, you know what? Forget this talk. Let's just do it. So I just went to the computer and I started a website, and that's how I started doing it. And so I post all the shows that I can find. So I'm like on Facebook following like Coach Wins or Coach Nico, and he'll post an ad for a show. So I'm like, okay, copy and paste, put it on my website. And then, athletes they train so long for these shows. And when the show's over, there's no real like remnants of it. So it's like, let's start getting a list of winners, and we'll advertise on the website. I'll write an article about the show, like a little bit of a review, and then put the list of winners to give, the athletes due recognition and whatnot. And so that's what it kind of became. So now it's just evolving into like, I want to, I've actually had someone reach out to me that wants me to make PrepLife a nonprofit organization, and they will fund it. So then I will sponsor athletes, because bodybuilding is so expensive, whether it's like supplements or like your grocery bill is just, like I said, you can't cheat the groceries. You can't cheat the diet. And so there's so many athletes here in the Philippines that are so talented, but they just don't have the financial means to support it, and they don't have the opportunities. So it's like, let's give them that opportunity. So I'm really trying to build up PrepLife so that this investor can see its value and be like, listen, let's invest in it, let's put money into it. And so, because like right now, the Philippines, there's Kareem and Joven. There's two male bodybuilders in the Philippines that went to Olympia, which is like the highest level of competition. But how come there's only two? When there's like so many amazing athletes. You walk into the gym, there's Mick, there's Brian, there's Josh, there's like the Egyptian brothers. There's even just at my gym alone, there's such amazingly talented athletes who have the discipline and have the genetics and the drive, but they don't have the same opportunities or the same financial situation that can elevate them. So if given that little bit of elevation, where can they go with it? So that's what I'm really trying to take PrepLife to.
Yeah. Well, kudos to you for doing so much to help other people. I mean, you're not just focused on yourself and your own career and what you're doing, but you're really across all of these platforms trying to help other people. And I know the time has gone so fast. We only have about 2.5 minutes left. I'd love to have you touch on two things before we go. One is the Lil Sistas Project, because I think that's so impressive. And then also, I know you have your clothing line. Like, I love the shirt that you're wearing. And is that something that people in the US can get? Is it available?
Right now, so in terms of the Lil Sistas Project is an outreach program that I funded, that I started, 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago, to help underprivileged girls. And so I run it at an orphanage, and I run it at a local village called Elishkash Village, which is like 9 hectares of land that's been donated for these disabled and basically disowned youth. And there's now over 500 youth that are there. So I coach about 30 girls there, just empowering underprivileged girls through sports, and just being a role model and a mentor for them. As for my clothing, I had a company called Slay Gear, which evolved into Slay Goddess. So I don't do custom clothing anymore. I do custom competition wear. But stay tuned, because this year I'm hoping to launch Baba Black Sheep, which is my 4th company. So stay tuned to Baba Black Sheep.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at that shirt, I'm like, I could just imagine a lot of people wanting that. That's a great shirt. So yeah. Before we close up, I'd love to give you the chance to tell people how they can connect with you and how they can find you.
Yeah. Well, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and even my Facebook fan page under Dead Aim Amy. So DEADAIM. Dead Aim Amy. That's the main thing. I'm really big into Instagram, so join me there. Check out my posts and my stories. I love posting stories just to try to like motivate others, and it keeps me accountable and it keeps me motivated too.
I think you have a fantastic page. It's always so interesting to watch what you're posting. So yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you truly so much for being here, and for doing this in the middle of the night. You are incredibly coherent and alert, and I just really appreciate it. And I'm just inspired to see what's going to happen next.
All right. Thank you so much, Kimberly. It's an honor and great to meet you and great to share my story. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, what a great, amazing journey that she's been on and continues to be on. So this happens at the end of every show where ahead of the show, I get a quote about persistence to read at the end of the show. And without fail, it seems to just fit perfectly with what the conversation has been. So I think that's true this time as well. So the quote this week is from Julian Lopetegui, and he said, "The only recipe is hard work, persistence, and belief." And I think that Coach Amy shows all of those things. So I really appreciate that. We're here with the Persistence Payoff Show every other Tuesday. I would love to hear from you about your thoughts about the show, any suggestions you have for guests, or sharing your own story of persistence. You can reach me at the Ring Thing website, ringthing.com, or by email at kimberly@ringthing.com. And I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
USA Global TV and Radio, home of the YouTube Silver Creator Award, proudly presents Just the Thing for Your Ring, introducing the patented Ring Thing. Your premium personal ring holder to keep your ring safe, nearby, and avoid loss.
The Ring Thing just got smarter. Add your logo and an NFC tag that opens to your website with one tap. Waterproof, inner padding, and now a forever business card.
Just the thing for your ring. Scan the QR code seen here to learn more about Ring Thing or place your order. Follow Ring Thing on Instagram at ring_thing_ or go to our website, ringthing.com.
In a world craving connection, one platform dared to dream bigger. USA Global TV and Radio, a beacon for global voices, authentic storytelling, and elevated listening. Led by visionary Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the journey from a spark to a global force is now captured in one inspiring book. Honored with YouTube's Silver Creator Award for surpassing 100,000 subscribers. Discover the evolution, the challenges, the triumphs, and the unstoppable spirit that created a global movement. Executive producer Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang. Creative director Paul Garcia. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Now an Amazon #1 new release in paperback and ebook. Broadcasting Brilliance, the evolution of USA Global TV and Radio, is inspiring readers around the world. Join the movement that's redefining global media one story at a time.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.